Various times we've had mystical and spiritual experiences. How can we know if they are illusions unless we know reality? At various times we've had mystical and spiritual experiences. How can we know if they are illusions unless we know reality? How do you answer such a question? If it was put to you, how do you approach it? What's your reaction to it? How do you come so close to it that the question itself unfolds? You understand? The question itself begins to evolve. If you are merely seeking an answer, it's already determined. Right? Are we seeing this together? To find an answer is fairly easy. But to delve into the question, to see all the complications of that question, it's like having the map of the world in front of you, seeing all the countries, the capitals, the villages, the hamlets, the rivers, the ocean, the hills, the mountains, the whole of it. How do you look at this question? Not the answer. Perhaps the response to the question may lie in the question. So, at various times, we've had mystical and spiritual experiences. What is an experience? I'm just asking each other. What is an experience? And who experiences? Right? I may have had or having some kind of mystical experience. Before I use the word mystical or experience, what do I mean by experience? And does experience involve recognition? Right? Does it involve a sense of something happening to me from heaven or from some place or something other, which I call mystical, which is not the daily experience, but something totally outside, which happens to me. And I call it mystical or spiritual. I like to, if one may, stick to those two words, spiritual and experience. Is there an experience without an experiencer? Had a spiritual experience, suppose. And what do I mean by those two words? Experience. Something new, something that have already had renewed, or something that is happening to the experiencer. You understand? And if the experiencer is experiencing, and that experiencing is a form of recognition, that is the remembrance, identification, and so on, to that which I call experience, then there must be in that feeling that I've already known it. Otherwise I couldn't recognize it. It's fairly simple, isn't it? I don't want to labor the point. It's fairly clear. As long as there is an experiencer experiencing, then it is something that is happening to the experiencer. Something separate, something which is not ordinary, which is not a daily, boring, habitual experience that one has. Right? Are we playing the game together? So, as long as the experiencer is there, every kind of experience, call it mundane or spiritual or holy or sacred or releasing energy and all that stuff that goes on, mostly nonsense. Then, what is important in this process, experiencer, experiencing? What is most important is the experiencer, right? It is gathering. And what is spiritual? Religious, something holy, something unexpected, something totally out of the ordinary. Why do we want something totally outside the daily life? Go on, please answer this question. Which means something totally different from our daily life. Then we are bored with our daily life. The habits, the loneliness, the despair, the attachments, the power, and all the rest of it. We want to avoid all that and invite heaven, which is called spiritual. We can deceive ourselves so enormously. Right? We have the capacity to deceive ourselves incredibly. Right? What is illusion and what is reality? You follow? Are we following this question? Questioner says, how can we know if there are illusions unless we know reality? Then we have to examine what is reality. What is reality? The real, the actual. Is you are sitting there, the speaker is up here, unfortunately. And reality is nature, that tree, that animal, that dog, the marvelous earth, the blue sky about us. Reality. Right? Reality, I have feeling for my wife, husband, sister, and so on. And so the whole movement of recognition and the actual. right? Know what is an illusion. Unless I know reality, right? What is reality in ourselves? Is there anything real in us? Actual? Or is it all a movement, change? So we should look at illusion, the word. What is illusion? The word itself in a dictionary means something you play with. Ludere. Something you invent, enjoy yourself. I am God, I am whatever it is. I am Napoleon, or I am such a great man. You play with something that is not actual. One has pain, a despair, a sense of tremendous, unaccountable loneliness. And that is actual, precise. And we create an illusion that somebody is going to help us, somebody is going to fulfill our lives, make us feel not lonely. That's all illusions. The actual fact is one is desperately lonely. So it's fairly simple to see for oneself, if one wants to, what is an illusion, what is reality, and why this craze for experience. Going from here across the field, you see the birds, the house martins, and so on. That's an experience, but you don't call it spiritual. I see you sitting there. It is a challenge, moving. So, what is important in all this is why the experiencer invents all this. You understand? Why the experiencer? Why the experiencer has become so important. Is there a period where the experiencer is not? That's a real question, not what is reality, what is illusion, what is experience, and all the rest of it. But is there a period, a length of time, a space where the experiencer, the observer, and so on is not? Then you don't want experiences. You understand? There's nothing. See, that's word. The word nothing. Sorry, I'm not a dictionary. Means not a thing. Not a thing not a thing of thought. You understand? Nothing means there is the end of time and thought. That's where there is no experiencer at all. That's the real thing, not all this.